Do not comment, rate, or subscribe or watch the video. Pause it, read the description and links if you wish to. You can watch this video. You do not owe me a view. This is a stub video. It will contain very little information. It may not be worth your while. This is concerning Mel's hole. Immediately, a bunch of double entendre jokes come up, but let's do this. Mel Waters appeared on Coast to Coast radio show with, at that time it was Art Bell, February 21st, and again on the 24th of 1997. Next, he was on in the year 2000, and then later on, January 29th, 2002. The last appearance was December of that year on the 20th. Told various stories. There are other people who claim to have corroborated it or looked into it and found evidence, but when you check on the area where they claim it's common knowledge this thing existed, nobody in the area agreed with it. And an individual named Mel Waters, which is what Mel's hole's named for, Mel Waters, who called in to Coast AM, claimed this was a 9.5 foot across by 80,000 feet deep hole, and it was on a chunk of dirt he had control over, or lived on or owned or whatever, that was 9 miles west of Ellensburg, Washington. Now, and there was a beam of black light that shone from it. Someone threw a dead dog down in it, and it came back to life, or maybe it was just another dog. I'm going to include a picture taken at ground level in around the center of the area that's 9 miles west of that town. And it's near Elk Meadows Area Parking lot area. And this is a town that's 5 miles across, or so, at maximum. And that's it. He had several appearances from 1997 to the year 2002. It's apparently the same person's voice. And this was never corroborated by anybody. Oh, it's common knowledge people would throw garbage into this pit, and it would just keep taking it. I'm going to point out a couple of things here, but number one, the only source for this is Art Bell's channel, or source, syndicated stuff. Next, Art Bell is not completely immune to being involved directly, or, the Coast to Coast AM radio show, not Art Bell specifically. The show is not immune from being caught embellishing stories or doing essentially faked call-ins. Next, if it's a genuine call-in, the person did not provide corroboration or proof. Now, why am I doing this video? I'm late with this video a lot because about a month ago or a week ago, depending on which video you saw, a bunch of AI programs are doing a new tactic on YouTube. That's what this should really be about. They look up old stories that were popular on YouTube, that are part of a list of conspiracy theories or mysteries, and then they add at least one or two extra characteristics to it to make it seem like an updated story. This is called re-aging a myth. You make it newer or older or give it a new spin, and you create, your own creative work. These are AI bots creating this. Now there's a drone footage recording, and in most of the videos, there's not even an attempt to show anything that looks like this. Next, the inspiration for this may actually be a physical hole in the ground. There's several pages that mention it, but don't give a GPS location for it. That was near Ellensburg, not necessarily 9 miles west on his property, if he ever had it. But there are holes in the area that were mine shafts that went deep enough that if you threw something into it, you would have trouble getting out of it. The next thing is, they were mine shafts, so they're a lot deeper than they were straight up and down. They led to long pathways. Next, there are some things that are called lava tubes, which end up being tunnels underground that go on for miles, and they have an initial drop to them in some cases, not necessarily all of them, and they go on for miles. Next, I'm going to bring up that anyone throwing garbage into any landfill, some of you aren't old enough to have done that on a regular basis, but this is Eastern Washington. Eastern Oregon is the same kind of bucket of BS about this. When I was younger, my family members and I would go out and do scrap hunting at places people would dump stuff legally and illegally. And I'm going to point out something. Any depression in the ground you see, if someone will throw garbage in it for landfilling, they'll just rationalize it that way. They're just dumping. Fly tipping is the name for it in other countries. And you learn very rapidly not to go near a fly tipping hole. You'll fall in. If someone suspected a hole that was 9 feet across went down very, very deeply, supposedly also a car was thrown into it, okay, look up older cars. I don't really think so. This would not be a place that a person would feel comfortable throwing garbage in. It wouldn't be a neighborhood dump. Kind of a cute story, but not something people would do in Eastern Oregon. Eastern Oregon is notorious for, or Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon. The reason is that the areas you're talking about here, I grew up in, are notorious for having really long dry spells every year. Basically, drought conditions are normal during some times of the year, and then torrential rains. Yeah, you wouldn't go near the edge of a hole like that. Next, want to point out that some holes in the ground, specifically mine shafts, if you throw something down in it, you won't hear it hit the bottom. Anyway, it's supposed to be 80,000 feet deep because someone used fishing line to gauge the depth. Anyway, a couple of mine shafts out there are probably good candidates for the story, but it doesn't matter. The individual producing the stories, and you can listen to them on archives of the Coast to Coast AM radio show. You can listen to them. I don't have the links, but I will update this video if I get them. You can listen to the stories and decide for yourself, but the point is, it's not actually possible. Not because of some science explanation, but because of practicality. Nobody in the area matching this person's description or the name Mel Waters owned property or lived there. Period. In the area. It wasn't. Next, there's no record of anybody with the last name Waters or anybody who vaguely matches any description anybody come up with that matches it. Next, the locals never heard of this. Well, it's common knowledge in the area. No, it wasn't, because whatever area you're talking about, people have scoured the entirety of the state of Washington trying to find this. No. Now, you'll find a person or two, and of course YouTube videos and certain websites that definitely want you to keep this story alive, talking about something, some guy who went under the name, an adopted name, Green Elk or something. It doesn't matter. The point is, that individual, I've done a video on before, produced a lot of content at one point, or confirmed or said a lot of things that turned out to simply be not possible and or not true, either by mistake or deliberate deception. It doesn't matter. The information is not considered validated just because that person decided to say something. So we have a person who's essentially anonymous but claiming to be named Mel Waters, making a statement that is, number one, not possible, number two, not able to be true by it being a mistake or whatever, and number three, not trying to confirm anything, and yet somehow seeming to be confirming things. Next, Art Bell and Coast to Coast AM aren't immune from making up fun stories and spook stories to put on the AM radio for you to listen to, just past midnight, or whatever, because it's fun. They don't have to be factual. It's storytelling. Is this a source of any mystery? Obviously it is. That's what's fun about it. It's a story about a mystery. Is there any reason to believe this is factually true? Absolutely not. There just isn't. Yes, you can have an 80,000 foot lava tube, find out what that is in miles, but it's not going to go straight down. It's going to go down a pretty good distance and then curve. And don't go into them if you find one. Please. The majority of those are going to be filled in a bit. And next, safety warning. Do not go into any mine shaft. No, there isn't any qualifier. Just never go into a mine shaft. I grew up in the area, and I know lots of people who ran mines. If the mine was not accessible for a period of time, they wouldn't enter their own mine, and then they would relinquish it back to the U.S. government and the BLM to deal with, because by definition, if you haven't been in a mine recently and you see any changes, you don't enter it because you presume that it'll cave in. All mines are deadly, even when they're being worked. So don't go exploring mine shafts. Next, if you suspect a hole in the ground is 80,000 feet deep, why the hell would you get near it? And that's the other part of the emphasis added. Once it was discovered to be very deep or whatever, the government came in and blah, blah, blah. Or it was a mine shaft and the government said, yeah, we're with a BLM and we're seizing the property and we're refunding you the amount for it. But no, it has to be the Men in Black because, it was the fountain of youth that had black light beams shining from it. Now, you can find a couple of pages that synopsize every single thing said, but I'm only dealing with location. No, it's not there. Next, claims of it being explored with a drone. That's just somebody re-aging the story and making a new one up out of it. Next one, people trying to confirm this. Please don't. You're going to go wandering in the. I'm sorry, where I grew up, people would get lost and we'd find their skeletons. Next, I'm going to use a thumbnail from an image that's almost exactly smack dab in the middle of the area that should give you a good idea of why you don't go out there. That will be the thumbnail for the video. It's okay, it's an elk. No relation to the other subject matter supposed confirmation source. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Mel's Hole did not exist and still does not exist. And if it was inspired by a mine shaft, odds are the Men in Black you're talking about is just BLM saying, yeah, it's a mine shaft and we're going to seal it up because it's dangerous. It's not the same thing as it being some hidden truther stuff.